Hey everyone, what we're seeing out there today, when you're on that race to the bottom, right, when you do start delving into that area where the government intervenes into your social and economic life, well, in this particular video, or most aspects that I've been covering recently, it's in your economic area of your life. Government constantly now is intervening. Constantly. We're seeing this time and time again, where the government is constantly, and it doesn't matter if it's the federal government or the provincial government or local governments, they're all playing this game, right? They're all racing down to that lowest common denominator where they're now thinking that they're the only game in town as far as who should be deemed a winner or a loser in the economy. The market does a much better job, obviously, of sorting all that out, because when people talk about markets, and I had to laugh when Stephen Polis says, kind of snickering when he was joking when he was having that interview with that CBC personality. Well, you know, the market's always right. Well, yeah, the people, yes. The people are always right, because the people are going to determine or decide, right? Because people are the ones that consume products, right? So in a market environment, of course, it's the market, it's the people that decide what's going to be economically prudent or sustainable. So yes, the market is always right. These are elitists looking down upon the lonely mass and saying, oh, what the hell do they know? They don't know anything. They don't know what they want. I know what they want. But as with all times through all of history, well, reality is going to rear its ugly head at some point. It always pops up periodically, right? Where the market rears its ugly head, which is a representation of reality, and then shocks the shit out of these central planners who think that they know how to pull the levers or controls on a society comprising of millions of people. Like I say, they might have that kind of an elitist entitled mentality where they think that they can do that seamlessly and never have to suffer any negative consequence or effects or ramifications for doing so. But like I say, the rest of us out there, whether you believe it or not, like I say, the market's always going to show these central planning hacks how out of touch with reality they truly are. And that's the thing, though, is if you're willing to fall for the rhetoric, then you as a market participant, if you fall for their rhetoric, you're going to suffer as a consequence. Whereas if you're a market participant and you don't fall for the rhetoric and you make sure you are proactive in doing the right thing, well, at least you won't have to suffer the consequence of their ineptness. Be wise. Be wary, Canada. This in reference to a business article and a CBC analysis, why cutting oil production seems so utterly un-Albertan. The province's free market spirit is set aside when money and jobs are on the line. Well, if it's set aside when money and jobs are on the line, you can't suggest that they're actually free market proponents. And actually, the Albertan people, this is the thing I want to point out right now. The Albertan people probably are still aligned with free market fundamentals. The Albertan people aren't the ones that are deciding to intervene into the economy and now create a price fixing scenario or production cuts in the oil patch, in the oil industry. It's the NDP government or people like Jason Kenney, another one of these fucking dipshits. That's another thing with you people out in Alberta. Are you starting to get sick of all these central planning politicians? Like they keep talking about, just like Stephen Harper, oh, I'm all about the free market. Jason Kenney, I'm all about the free market. Even Notley, while she's fucking introducing production cuts from the government imposed on the market, she's suggesting that she's a free marketer. Well, like I said, Stephen Harper, you're a fucking liar. Jason Kennedy, you're a fucking liar. Rachel Notley, you're a fucking liar. None of you are proponents of free market if you want to intervene in the economy. That's the opposite of being a free marketer. Like I said, I don't know how, well, oh yes I do. They're politicians. I was going to say, I don't know how these people can even keep a fucking straight face while they're saying, I'm a big proponent of the free market, while they're intervening in the economy as a government. Someone who has a big, gigantic gun in the room that gets to pick winners or losers in the economy. And what Rachel Notley has decided, that some of these now crony corporations in Canada that used to be at least somewhat free marketeers, at least the companies themselves, right, or those who own those companies, but now she's saying, oh no, become part of government, and I guess some of them are aligned with it. So like I say, free market ain't functioning so well. But why is that? It's not that the free market has failed. No, what has failed is governments from keeping their fucking grubby hands off of the economy and letting the bad actors suffer from their past economic malfeasance or bad decisions, and letting new actors step up the plate that could do things in a much better way. Like I say, they're all scared that, oh, we don't want, like what some of these big conglomerates or these big corporations, oh, we don't want them to fail. Don't fucking worry about them failing. If there's still oil in Alberta and there's still people that want to get that oil, somebody will fill the void. That's what the market does. Somebody moves out of that market. If there's an area or a void in the market where it's deemed prosperous and people can step into that, well, that will happen. That will happen. The market will always take care. People will always take care of proper economic fundamentals, and it's not based on anything altruistic. It's just even for their own satisfactory needs or selfishness. But there's selfishness. That's the thing about the market. There's no such thing as genuine selfishness when you're talking about the market, because nobody functions in a market all by themselves. Right? So once again, these central planners are proven time and time again that all they really care about are these short-term stopgap measures to get them over a political hurdle so that they can remain in some position of authority going forward. That's really what we're seeing out there on the political landscape today. And it's from the East Coast, from the West Coast, and basically all areas of Canada now where no one wants to do the hard work. No one wants to do the right thing anymore. It's just, if there's a crack or a hole in the economy somewhere, just plug it. Just plug it as best you can. Who cares about trying to make sure that we have a better foundation so we don't see all these cracks or holes popping up all the time? No, they're just constantly, like I say, putting in plugs or filling it with putty or whatever they're doing. But once again, you're still going to end up, the cracks are just going to keep showing all over the rest of the economy, because you can't centrally plan and manipulate the lives of tens of millions of people and think that that's going to work out seamlessly. It's never happened in human history, and it's sure shit ain't going to happen going forward. We're educated and informed enough to the point today that we should be accepting and adopting free people. That's your best chance going forward, folks. That's the best case scenario if you want to put the best people in positions of leading the economy, in opposition to those who just want to cozy up the government to monopolize or manipulate a particular segment of the economy. No. Free market has always been the best starting point and the best basis for economic flourishment and harmony. Alberta is supposed to be the home of the free market, the province of privatization. It's a wide open market to sell beer, wine, cannabis, and even insurance of every kind. Take a test for your driver's license, and the person in the right-hand passenger seat works for a business, not the government. The province is often seen as a libertarian hotbed with the common view that less government is better government. That was at the heart of former Premier Ralph Klein's Alberta Advantage mystique as he served up massive government cuts and promised a free enterprise ethos in the 1990s. And it obviously worked out really well, because Alberta became one of the major economic hubs in this country. So it actually worked out great. But once again, the minute there's massive amounts of economic activity, these central planners, these socialists, right, these people that see that there's a larger pie that's out there in the economic sphere, well, they just can't help it. They're just salivating, constantly thinking that, how can I get a bigger piece of that pie? How can I get a chunk of that pie? I didn't work for a piece of that pie. I didn't produce anything that would deem me worthy or as a recipient of a piece of that pie, but I want a piece of that pie because it just looks so good. Well, that's what the NDP government, that's what socialists do. It's like, look at that pie. Now, I could bake my own pie, which would mean there's even more pies available in Alberta, but nah, that's a pretty big, yummy looking pie. I just want to take a big chunk of it without having to work for it. That's what the Alberta government's doing now. They're basically, like I say, with this constant intervention in the economy, they're catering and calling to the complacent and punishing those who actually still want to function under a free market environment. Anyways, I'll be covering this issue probably in a few more subsequent videos, so I won't necessarily delve down too much in this particular article, but I just wanted to point out that, no, listen, don't blame the market, folks. As we're seeing, once again, another clear-cut example, and that's another thing about making these videos, is it's something that's on record now. Because I always, like I said, I always place a link to these articles in the description of my video. Then I put forth and present what I have to say in regards to this particular topic or this subject. And like I said, now it's a matter of record. And it's recorded on many social media platforms. It's recorded in my own personal computer. And I always keep an extra backup just in case. So don't worry, this stuff, like I say, I do this now, and maybe some point in time, someone in the future will be able to use all these examples, and where I've pointed out, or where many other people like myself have pointed out, this is terrible precedent as far as central planning in relation to our economic lives. And hopefully people in the future will be able to draw and derive their conclusion based on the reality and the positions that people like myself take, and showing that, yeah, central planning, folks, it just doesn't work. Well, not for most of us. It'll work for a small segment of society, but once again, those are usually the most inept, the most corrupt, the most vile, the most immoral people among us. So it will work. It will carry favor for those types, but for the overarching representation of the general masses, it's always shown time and time again to be a detriment to your social and economic lives. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.